Hello, I'm Paul Bristow and I'm delighted to be part of the Scottish Silly Squad this summer, supporting the Summer Reading Challenge and Scottish Libraries. I write all sorts of books. I write comics, I write history books, I write ghost stories, I write folk tales. Sometimes I write all of these things at once. And I'm really lucky because I've got what I think is one of the coolest jobs in the world, which is that I run a comic company and I get to come in to work with schools and community groups to tell all sorts of stories using comics. And it can be historical stories, moments from Scotland's history. It can be Gaelic folk tales. It can be sillier things like, zombies attacking the school or cats battling ninja monkeys on dinosaurs, the sort of thing. And today, what I thought I would do is I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. I'm going to maybe talk a wee bit about how I get ideas and ways to maybe help you get some ideas. And then I've got a couple of challenges that I thought we could do together. Because you see, the thing is that I write comics, for example, but I don't do the illustrations. I get to work with loads of really cool artists, and I'm always on the lookout for more. So maybe this is your chance, and I'll tell you how you can share some of your artwork with us later on. Now, I've always loved reading. I spent most of my childhood in and out the library in the town, but I also used to buy a couple of comics on the way home from school every week. These were my two favourite ones here, and one of them, Secret Wars. That's about all the superheroes going off to fight a big giant battle, and the other one, Transformers. Well, I guess you know who the Transformers are. They're sort of gigantic robots in disguise. So it's maybe not a huge coincidence that when I finally decided to write a book, it had superheroes battling gigantic transforming robots, almost as if the idea had been bubbling away in there the whole time, since it was wee, waiting to be told. So I thought what I would do just now is I'm going to read you the first chapter of the book, and then I think we'll try our first challenge. Okay? So this is chapter 1 of the Superpower Project, which is set in my hometown of Greenock, and the places round about it. So this is chapter 1, Up and Down. There was something strange about the way Megan's gran had exploded. The strangeness wasn't that she was on holiday at the time. It wasn't that it was particularly unlucky because she'd won the holiday in a competition. It wasn't even that she was water skiing when it happened. No, it was that before exploding on faulty water skis on her unexpected holiday, she'd not phoned Megan when she said she would. And Gran always phoned. Always. Megan's mum suggested that was maybe because of all the sangria. But still, it didn't feel right. None of it felt right. Everyone made a sad, understanding face when Megan said this, so she decided to stop talking about it. Now, weeks later, she sat on her bed, holding a letter her gran had left for her. Megan brushed her dark hair out of her eyes and stared at the envelope some more, not quite ready to open it yet. The week that followed the explosion had been very strange. Exploding on holiday is clearly quite an inconvenient thing to do. Serious black-suited people kept turning up at the house with forms for Mum and Dad to fill in. Newspapers and a television crew wanted to speak to them as well, because it was such a tragic and unusual story. Megan was pretty sure her gran would have been delighted to be tragic and unusual. She'd not been allowed to go to the funeral because Dad said it would be too sad, which Megan sort of thought was the point. Even clown funerals must be sad. But instead, while everyone else went up the hillside cemetery, Megan's great-aunt Gertie had taken her to a cafe in Greenock. The only good thing about this was that Megan had been allowed to take her best friend Cameron along too. Cam was slightly more interested in the selection of ice cream than in comforting Megan, but at least there was something normal to do while she was there. It hadn't felt like a proper goodbye though, especially because her aunt refused to talk about her gran. Best not, she'd said. Your granny said it was a lovely lady, but a strange one. All that sad business when she was wee. Megan stared at the envelope in her hand. It was from the stationery set she'd made Gran for Christmas last year. The letter smelled of Gran's perfume. The last time she'd smelled that perfume was on their pre-holiday walk around the dam, feeding the swans. Gran had said something Megan couldn't stop thinking about. "Do you remember when I used to read you The Ugly Duckling?" asked Gran. Megan nodded, hoping this wasn't her Gran's attempt to start talking about growing up. "You always did a funny duck voice," said Megan. "Well, it's a load of rubbish," said Gran. "People spend years waiting to be beautiful swans. What a waste of time. Just be a beautiful duck and go on with it." Gran had turned and grinned at Megan, but her grin had faded into a look Megan didn't recognise, before she quickly changed the subject. "Come on, you can help me pack. Don't let me forget my Nintendo." Megan had wanted to tell Gran her secret that day. She knew she would understand, would know what to do. But it was too late to tell her now, all too late. All she had was the letter. No one else was allowed to open it or read it. "Your Gran made it very clear we must advise you to open the letter alone," the lawyer had said when she handed it over. Now her parents were in bed. It was pitch black outside. Megan knew it was time. She pulled at the envelope carefully, as if it were full of diamonds and gunpowder. Inside was a very small piece of paper. "Can't be much written on that," thought Megan, a little disappointed. There were two other items in the envelope, a piece of old newspaper and one of those fold-out street maps of the town. For now, though, Megan was only interested in her letter. Sure enough, it was very short, but the first line said almost everything that Megan hoped it would. "Dear Megan, I know why you can fly." Okay, so right at the end of that first chapter, we find out that Megan's got a superpower. She can fly, right? So now seems like a good time for us to think about a silly challenge. What would your superpower be? And I don't mean like a normal superpower, like invisibility or teleportation or flying. I mean like a silly skill, something you'd really like to be able to do, maybe something that you can do that would be an unusual or silly superpower. So maybe being really good at making balloon animals, or you always win at board games, or that you can eat lots of ice cream really quickly without getting brain freeze, something like that, right? And then I want you to think, what would that superhero look like? Maybe start sketching it out. How would they dress? What colours would they have? Would they have like a big ice cream symbol on the front of them if they were the ice cream bit? Would they have a cape? How would they look? And then let's also start thinking about how would that superpower be useful in a story. So like in the event of an alien invasion where the aliens really like playing Monopoly, a board game based superpower would be extremely useful perhaps, right? Or maybe we should be thinking more about super villains, your nemesis. So balloon animal person would probably want to stay away from anybody with lots of sharp objects or pins and needles, like the Stitcher or Dr. Pincushion or something like that. You get the idea. What I want you to do is I want you to think about your silly superpower and how that might work in a story, and then maybe draw some of that idea out for me, right? And I'll tell you how you can share that with us later on. And while you're doing that, while you're getting your ideas together and sketching, I'll tell you a wee bit about what I think is like being a writer. Because the thing about being a writer is it's not like being a pilot or a plumber or a teacher or any of these things where you go away to learn for ages and ages how to do something and then start doing it. The good thing about being a writer is that you can start whenever you like. I mean, you can always learn and get better, but you can start whenever you like. You don't need anyone's permission. You can start today. And to show you exactly what I mean, here's a picture of me, age 8, and this is me writing my first book. And you can maybe see what I'm using there as a really old typewriter. And this particular typewriter, it belonged to my gran. And she would use it for two things. She would use it for writing poems and stories, which she would give to people in the family. It's a really lovely thing to do. But she also used to use it for writing cheeky letters to people. So it would be like, "Dear Birdseye, I bought a packet of 12 fish fingers today and there were only 10 inside. This is an outrage. Or, dear ScotRail, I got on the train to Glasgow today and it broke down twice. What an absolute nonsense. And she would write these letters and send them away to the companies. And they would send her back vouchers for free stuff. Very clever, you see. But when she wasn't using it to get free fish fingers or train tickets or whatever, I was allowed to borrow it. And I would never have it for very long, maybe just like, a week or two. And that's why I was really, really concentrating. You can see that I'm totally dingy my wee brother down at the front, And I loved the typewriter. I loved the sort of metal smell that it had. I loved the clacking noise the keys make when you press them. I loved that wee bell went ding when you went to the end of each line. But see, more than any of that, I loved that the typewriter made me feel like I was a writer. Must be a writer, because here I am with my typewriter writing stuff. But actually, really, I'm just showing off, because you don't really need a typewriter to be a writer. I mean, not even then. But there are a few useful pieces of equipment that I think you maybe do need to be a writer. Not much, just a couple. So this is my fancy notebook for when I'm out and about and maybe I'm sitting in a coffee shop and I want people to think I'm dead interested in that, writing books and stuff. But actually, that's just me showing off again, because this one here is just as good, right? It's from the wee shop at the bottom of my street. 50p, a pen and a notepad, which is actually less than the price of a toffee crisp. Although I do sometimes buy a toffee crisp when I'm in there as well. And here's my other piece of vital writer's equipment. It's my boots, my fairly smelly boots. And I know what you're thinking, what use is that as a piece of writer's equipment? Well, here's the thing. I like to go exploring. And when I decided to get my book together and look for inspiration, that's exactly what I decided to go. I went for a big explore, but not, to the tombs of ancient Egypt or the jungles of the Amazon or the mountains of Peru. I decided to go exploring out my front door. And again, I know what you're thinking. That sounds rubbish, but actually, really and truly, the places that we walk past every day, maybe on our way to school or the library or in the town or whatever, these places sort of fade away. They sort of disappear into the background. We stop noticing them. But they can be just as magical and amazing as the places that we read about in books. You just have to look at them a different way. And in fact, over the last few months in particular, when we've not maybe been able to walk or go as far as we would normally, it's been great to look at places in a different way and to think about them differently. And so I think that might be part of the next challenge that I'm going to set you. Because what I think is a really good thing to do, to try and get ideas started, to think about a story or to get things moving, is to mash two things, two ideas, two words, anything at all together that don't seem like they usually go. You mash it up and then something new is created. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so these stories. We know these stories, right? I'll let you fill in the blanks though. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, that's right. Okay, so Three Little Pigs, exactly. And what princess? The Swan Princess, Frog Princess, Snow Princess. There's loads of different princesses, right? But all we have to do to create a completely new story, a different story, a silly story, is change one word. Just one word, and then we've got something completely different. So, let's have a look. Snow White and the Seven Ninja. The Three Little Zombies. The Dinosaur Princess. And all of a sudden, we've got totally different stories to tell, right? So, like Snow White and the Seven Ninja. Would there still be a sleepy ninja and a sneezy ninja? Or would Snow White train up as a ninja and go out and sort out the queen herself without waiting for the soppy prince to turn up? What about Three Little Zombies? Would Three Little Zombies be scared of a big bad wolf? No, exactly. What would they do? They would eat his brains, exactly. So maybe in fact the big bad wolf would be the goodie, defending the town from zombie pig attack. And what about a dinosaur princess? How huge a castle would a dinosaur princess have to live in? Would it be a nice dinosaur princess? Or would she stomp around eating everybody like in Jurassic World? It would be that one, exactly. So, one word, totally different story, right? Keep that in mind, mashing things up that don't normally go, words that don't normally go together, right? And for the next bit of our challenge, what I want you to do is go and get yourself a bit of paper and a pair of scissors, okay? So, take a piece of paper and fold it. You might have seen this before. It's quite an easy thing to do. Fold it, and you fold it again, and again. So it's pretty small, right? So how many times have I folded that? Three times. Three, right? So it should look like this when you unfold it. Then fold it like so. And now, take your scissors and cut along the middle. Not from this side, but along the middle, right? That's the important bit. Just up to the middle, like that, right? And now, when you open it up, you'll have a sort of a quacking Pac-Man style page, right? And what you do is you fold it over, so you've got this diamond shape, and then you push the diamond together and fold it again, right? This time lay it down flat, give it a good wee fold, and then double it back over, fold it again, right? So that what you're left with is an 8-page book that you don't need staples or glue or anything else from, just for one page, right? And you see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages there, right? 8-page book. And what you're going to write in that book? Well, you could use it to make a comic about your silly superhero from earlier, which would be good. Or you could create a different story in it using the idea of mashing two things together. So you could pick from some of the things on the list that I'm just about to put on the screen right now. Take one idea from the left, one from the right, mush them together, and that'll get the ball rolling. That gets your story started, your silly story, which you can then turn into a book. And to prove it works, I'm going to read you another story, which was made up by mashing two words together that don't normally go. This time, superhero supermarket. And that's the name of the story. Olivia and her mum are superheroes. Last month, they battled the scary sea witch's gigantic jellyfish down at the beach. Last week, they protected the world from Martian attack. Yesterday, they destroyed Dr. Doulally's rampaging robot zoo. Today, they're going to the shops. Boring, said Olivia. Even superheroes need to go to the shops, said Mum. Get your boots on. It's time to fly. All superheroes do their shopping at Superhero Supermarket. It sells capes, costumes, cars, gadgets, superpowered breakfast cereals with tiny robot toys inside. It's amazing. To normal people, like you and I, the Superhero Supermarket would probably be the most fantastic place on earth. To superheroes, it's as exciting as any normal supermarket, so not exciting at all. The shelves in Superhero Supermarket go right up to the sky. No one has to worry about reaching the top shelf though, because everyone can fly or stretch or climb. Olivia was at a sweet counter checking out the lava-filled atomic fireball gobstoppers when she spotted a strange old man. He was wearing a black hat and a long black coat. He had tiny dark eyes, which darted around the shelves nervously. The old man was picking up laser cannons in the super weapons section. Olivia thought he looked suspicious, and she pointed him out to Mum. It's very rude to point, said Mum. He's probably just one of those old superheroes who's come out of retirement for one final battle, like Grandpa did. Grandpa had his final battle a few years ago and defeated his arch-enemy, Professor Wormtangler. Now, Grandpa was quite happy on his super allotment, growing giant carnivorous cabbages and trimming tripod tentacles. Olivia was not convinced. No, I'm pretty sure he meant to go to the supervillain supermarket. I'm going to keep an eye on him. Olivia saw him again while she was trying on new rocket boots. This time, the strange old man was looking at spaceships and mini submarines as if deciding which one to use in his evil plans. The whole time, he kept looking around to see who was watching him. Definitely up to no good, thought Olivia, and she followed him past the teleporters and flying cars and down towards the supersuit section, which was full of colourful masks and wigs and helmets and cloaks. The old man picked up a black mask and a long purple cape with a huge pointy collar. I knew it, thought Olivia, and quickly raced off to tell Mum there was a supervillain in the supermarket. Mum was already at the checkout, and just as Olivia flew over to her, the old man appeared. Still looking around, he shiftily reached into his long black coat. "Look out!" shouted Olivia, zooming straight towards the old man in case he pulled out a stolen laser cannon. But the old man didn't do that. Instead, he put his hands up and shouted, "Please help me, I think I'm in the wrong shop." "Olivia, what on earth are you doing?" cried Mum. "I've been following around the shop," said Olivia. "He was acting strangely, he kept looking around." "Oh, that's because I'm lost," said the old man. I forgot to put my glasses on this morning, but I've just remembered they're in my inside pocket." Olivia felt embarrassed. "I'm so sorry about this," said Mum. "Are you okay?" "Oh yes, dear, just a bit confused. I came for cat food and sardines, but the pet food here seems to be for giant pumas, and there aren't any sardines, but there's tins of shark." "Yes," smiled Mum. "Superheroes get super hungry. What's your name?" "I'm Jack," said the old man. "Jack Moore." "Well, Mr. Moore, can Olivia and I take you to the proper supermarket? After that, we'll get you home safely." "Oh, that would be super helpful," said Mr. Moore. So that's just what they did. And now Olivia goes to visit Mr. Moore every day, and she gets his shopping for him, because being a superhero isn't just about battling robots and aliens. It's about helping with the little things too. Well, thanks for joining me in my wee bat cave under the stairs. Do most of my writing in here, actually. But also keep lots of bits and pieces in here as well, including this. Look, still here. So you've got two silly challenges to think about. A silly superhero to tell a story about, or a silly storybook using some of the ideas that we discussed. And if you want to share those with us online, you'll find the details at the end of the video. And of course, be sure to sign up for the Summer Reading Challenge as well. Now, where you are, your library might still be closed at the moment, but that's okay because there are loads of Silly Squad librarians on hand to help you out. So get in touch with your local library and find out what's happening where you are. Now, if you just excuse me, I've got some cheeky letters to write. See you later.